Man United's summer transfer window is concerning. Now, what I mean by concerning is we are not sure about the next signings that are going to come in for this team. As we know, we do have Champions League, we have Premier League to compete for, and we've only made two signings in Santos and Tillmans. Some would say, it's not that bad, but I personally say this is a lazy, below the bar transfer window so far, in my opinion. Going into this season, we have a Champions League to fight for if we really wanted to. Now, realistically, we are not winning the Champions League. We are nowhere near a team like PSG, Real Madrid, if you want to talk about them, Bayern Munich, Barcelona. We are nowhere near their level to compete and knock them out of the Champions League in order for us to win it, if that makes sense. We're nowhere near that level. It would only be luck on our side if we ever got even close to that opportunity. Going into this season, you see that we need a lot of areas to improve on. I would say those were the left back, obviously the midfield. I think we needed at least three. We've only signed two. Going into this season, I'd say four would have been ideal, but I think I think you're going a little too far there, knowing that we have a board that is very defensive minded. If you put it in football terms, it's very defensive. It's like they're really parking the bus, if that makes sense. That's how our board works. But anyways, we needed a left back. We needed at least three midfielders. We've brought in two. We probably needed another striker. We've brought none. So what I can see from what we wished for versus the realistic or reality of what is in today's time, we've only signed two midfielders. I think the realistic and or some would say the amount we would accept in signings would probably be one more midfielder and a left back. But I don't see two deals happening in less than 2 weeks because United don't work like that. This board in specific is not ruthless. They're not ruthless enough to go out there and pay the cash for a player who's going to improve this squad. We'll talk about Santos and Tielemans' effect on the team in a minute and what I think about them as signings. But as of now, if you think by buying Santos and Tielemans that we're going to be able to compete for the Champions League and the Prem week in, week out, I would say you're delusional. Personally, I would say that and that's no dig to both of those players. They can definitely provide us something. We don't know. It all has to be proven in the season on the pitch. But when you look at the team sheet and you sit and you see Tielemans, Santos, Mainu, I mean, yeah, it's a decent midfield, but it's not Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo. It's not Alex McAllister, Gravenberg. It's not Anderson or what was Rodri in Man City, Anderson, Rodri. It's not that caliber of talent, competition, and overall competitiveness that you see on that team sheet based off those two names. Tielemans is a great player. Santos is a great player. But it's not signings that I don't think any of the teams I just mentioned, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, City, I don't think those teams go for the signings we've made so far this summer. Ultimately, what I would say personally about these two signings is that Santos was a bench player for Chelsea. For some reason, we keep feeding them our money. We look at Mason Mount. Don't even get me started on Mason Mount. And now Santos. And it's just concerning because we tried it already once with Mason Mount, who was, some would say, a starter, maybe not even a starter at the time when we bought him off Chelsea. And now we're going up paying the amount of money we paid for Andre Santos. And is he proven in the Premier League? That's my biggest concern. Have we seen enough of him in the Premier League to really bring him into Man United? Some would say he's Casemiro's replacement. Ultimately, I don't think we've even gone near a Casemiro replacement, even with the links to other midfielders such as Kone and Alex Scott. I haven't seen... Those aren't sixes. They don't play like Casemiro plays. But even then, is Andre Santos even capable of filling in those shoes that Casemiro left? And I see that very difficult, and I'm hoping he will. But we just have to wait and see what happens. We just have to wait and see what happens. Tielemans, on the other hand, I think it was a good escape. You know, we lost out on our ideal candidates that were fed to us since November of last year. That Anderson was going to be a Man United player in this summer. That Tonali has had his links with us in the summer, Sorry, Bruno Guimaraes at one point also had a link with us, and then at another point, we even had Baleba for a little bit of time. Carlos Baleba from Brighton, in which we went for him last summer, when he was actually decent, but ultimately that was never a possibility at the end. And then we were still linked to him, which made no sense to me. But that was in the past because he's had a horrible season, so there's no way we should be going for him. But personally, I think so far this window is concerning. Some would say, based off our summer transfer window in the moment, it's almost like we're just tweaking up for no reason. Like, if you allow me to expand on that, what I'm trying to say is, you almost forget you're competing in the Champions League when you look at our signings, and not just our signings, but our effectiveness in this window has been very poor. We've only made 2 signings when we're in a Champions League competition, when we're in a Premier League competition that we're going to compete for. Are we just going to try and fight for 4th again when we already finished 3rd? So what's next? We're just going to try and go for 2nd, and that's why we're only buying 2 players. And that's not even, I don't know. It's confusing. You would think that we came off of a treble with this winning team and that we're just adding to the squad, which is just 2 players, and we're keeping the rest that have won everything. It just seems like we're just tweaking. From the outside looking in, it just seems like we're just tweaking spots where we think we just need to tweak and we're going to be fine. Or some would even say, if you look at it a different way, it's like we just got promoted and it's really expensive out there. We don't got the money. But ultimately, even Ipswich, even the 3 who came in into this season have spent more than Man United, or at least most of them. I saw it on social media that we haven't spent nothing. It's really shocking, surprising. Obviously, you may not be able to drop the amount of money you want to drop on a Elliot Anderson or a Tonali. But if you want to win, if you want to conquer, if you want to win the fans, you have to be able to show why we are going to compete. And if you're over here buying Tielemans and Santos, again, this is no dig to these players. If you're over here buying Tielemans and Santos, ultimately you have more questions rather than you have confidence in the signings. And that's what creates the toxicity in the fan base, because when you have the players that are Santos and Tielemans, yes, they're great players. They're professional for a reason. But can they play for Man United? Tielemans most likely can. But we're waiting on another prospect in Andre Santos to hopefully, and that's a key word, hopefully fill in the shoes that we need to be filled. So those are ultimately my concerns. Another few key topics. You look at the left back opportunity, or the left back choices that we've seen in the market, and you ultimately have the likes of Lewis Hall that I've only seen Man United get linked to. I don't think that happens at all. I think that's just far-fetched. It's impossible for us to go and get Lewis Hall with less than 2 weeks left in this transfer window, and Newcastle are ultimately fighting for their lives to at least have a decent team, and they would want an extraordinary amount of money in the last 2 weeks of the transfer window, knowing that they don't need to sell a player like Lewis Hall, who is very key in their project. So I don't see why they would sell Lewis Hall, and I don't see Man United paying the amount of money that Newcastle would ask for Lewis Hall. So that's a shutdown in itself. You know, there's more options, though, at left back, just like there is more options in the midfield, right? And at left back, you can go for Truffert from Bournemouth, who I think is very decent. But the problem is, since you wait so long into the final stages of the window, clubs are definitely going to raise prices for the key players. And that goes for the midfield options that are left, whether it's Kone, whether it's Namicha, Angelo Stiller, a lot of midfield options left that Man United can be ruthless in and fight for. But they're doing the opposite. I don't know what the waiting game is all about. And I think every year it's like this. We get manipulated by this ownership from months out, talking about how we're going to be able to compete for a signing like Anderson, Tonali, be willing to pay the amount of money that is 120 million or around there. And you know the price. By then, you know the price is going to be high. And November is when we started getting linked to, or as soon as the transfer window ended last year, we saw us getting linked to Anderson. If we go into the summer, we approach June, right before the World Cup, and all of a sudden, Anderson is too expensive. Like, we didn't know that coming in how many months ago? That's the stuff that really concerns me. I think there's a lot of manipulation within this ownership. I think there's a lot of questions within this ownership, because what's left now is to go out and pick up some of the crumbs that were left over. Honestly, I mean, you missed out on all the big, pieces of the pie that were there, and now you have to go with the crumbs. And ultimately, the crumbs are the Kones, the crumbs are the Alex Scotts, and they're not bad. They're pretty good. It's worth it. Alex Sky's looking at 80 million or maybe even higher. I mean, would I drop that price on him? No. Would I drop that price on Kone? Probably not. But in today's market, if you want to be ruthless, if you want to compete, you have to do what it takes. Kone came off of a great World Cup with France. I would do a lot to bring him into the club, but it's in the ownership's hands. And ultimately, the realistic view for this end of the window is I know we're going to do something. We're going to make one more signing. I'd be surprised if we did two, but I think we're going to do one. It will be a midfielder, and that midfielder will be one out of the blue. Whether it's decent or not, I don't know if it'll be great, but I think it will be decent, like the ones we've brought in so far. So we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. Other than that, other than the signings, other than the transfer window, I just want to, touch upon, my thoughts so far on this team looking into this new season of the Premier League, Champions League, and whatever else you want to talk about. This Man United team has the team to compete, but only to a certain extent, if we're just being honest. If we talk about anything else, I think that's something I want to talk about. Rashi's come back, and I'm pretty excited that he's back. I know we shouldn't try something that's been failing us for the past year or so. Ultimately he left to Barcelona because of Amorim, but also because of his happiness within the club just wasn't there anymore. It didn't work. But now, we're going to try one more time, and I'm in for it. For this last time, I'm in, because I believe Rashford is a talented player. And when you see the likes of Amad Diallo on one side, Sesko through the middle, and Rashford off the left, or Mbuemo off the right, or whatever you want to call it, and Cunha, I mean, it excites me that we have a player like Rashford with the flair that he brings to the team, that he's able to offer us. So I'm not against it. I'm pretty excited to see that with Bruno as well. I mean, I think the attacking options is pretty decent. So yeah, that's ultimately my recap on the summer so far. I think it's been pretty disappointing. I think we need at least two more signings to at least be stable. But with only two or maybe three signings to end this year's transfer window, it's concerning, and it's not something that I get excited about. So hopefully we can see something change in the last final stages of this transfer window. But ultimately, it's going to be really difficult. And I'll be back with some Premier League predictions and season predictions out soon. I'm excited for this new chapter. We're gonna be heading into club football, and it's gonna be very, very exciting. So thank you guys for watching. Subscribe, like, and leave a comment.